All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of now Testify FSD Supervised 12.3.3. And we are doing some construction testing here, but I'm going to basically go on test loop 1 again. I've had some very disappointing results in the drive yesterday, proceeding slowly through this intersection. And I'm just really curious if they'll simply repeat or if we have some improvement. All right, so now we've got, put in our destination. So yeah, so the idea with this second go at test loop 1 in its entirety is really to see if we're getting repeatable disengagements, which I did it twice yesterday, actually, one after another, and it was pretty disappointing. So again, this is supposed to be the best version yet, but I feel like even 12.3 beta was still better for me. So nicely navigated through that construction area, no problem at all. Here's our first unprotected left turn. And we've got plenty of room we should go. Great. Nice use of the merge lane and then pop right over. Good. I really would like to see if beta will jump in that merge lane with heavy traffic coming in from the left. That's the ideal scenario. So I'll probably have to just kind of keep testing that. All right, while we're here and we got some straight, I'm going to see if I can make sure our route's good. Yes, I'm going to go that way. All right, that way I won't have to disengage. All right, so off to a good start with the test loop 1. All right, coming up on challenge number 2, if it ever gets timed correctly, are yielding to roundabout traffic. Looks like we might have some traffic to contend with, possibly. We'll see about the timing. Yeah, I think we're far enough ahead here where we don't need to yield at all to that traffic. So that worked out good for beta's sake. The great thing was in a couple other tests I have, and maybe I'll see if I can dig up that footage, it did yield properly to vehicles in there, which has been a little bit questionable, and it did a really good job of where it stopped to yield. So I was happy with that as well. I'm pretty sure that was on 12.3, but it very well could have been on the 12.3.3. All right, so we do not turn here. I've noticed this. So there's not a disengagement issue. I haven't intervened, but for some reason, beta thinks it wants to turn at that exit. That has not been an issue before. As you can see, it totally did not take that turn, but actually took the right way. It just put on the blinker. So. Good speed through here. This is interesting. We're going 36, which is keeping up with traffic. The limit is 30, but I would most certainly be doing that same level of speed through here with all that. And look at that. We had a car cross traffic here, and it didn't even phase beta. In other versions, I'm sure it would have slammed on the brakes, even though it was a good distance away. All right, coming up now on the Pyus challenge, and the Pyus challenge is at the bottom of this street that we are turning right onto right now. There's a right turn only lane if we stay in this rightmost lane. In order to make it to Pyus Market, which is at the very bottom across the train tracks, we will need to make its way over to the left-hand lane before we get to this next intersection. It can be a challenge because sometimes we will get folks that are in the left-hand lane already, and they are going to the market, and it can prevent beta, Supervised, can prevent FSD ego, from actually going on its way. So we do have a truck coming up on our left-hand side. They could be making a left onto the market, and no, they turned. All right, so Beta, I think, is going to get lucky here, because I think if it has the room to move over in time, it will. So it does. Let's just see if it does so. Now we're getting a car coming to our left. It's not going to have enough time to do it. And so I think we're going to fail, and we're going to have to disengage here. So because we are in a right turn only, Beta should only go right. And so I have disengaged there, and that is unfortunate. FSD needed to take a right on a right turn only lane, but instead was going straight. Should have taken a right. So yeah, and that has crept up in the supervised version. I think I had some good luck actually in 12.3 in the beta version. I didn't have an issue with that. It moved over appropriately, and the last several versions of V11 also were successful in the Pyus challenge. So I thought it had been solved a while ago, but again, this new architecture for some reason is just not paying attention to right turn only lanes. I do have a loop 2 that I need to go on that has a left turn only lane, and waiting to see how that might pan out. But, so one disengagement, no interventions, and it's an unfortunate one, and the reason I started this loop way back in you can go back to my earliest FSD videos, and I believe that it was my very first loop, and I've called it the Pyus challenge ever since. In fact, I have a celebratory video. There's one video where it actually made it into the market, and back then I had made the challenge. If it actually made it to the market, I would go inside and buy some beef jerky or some meats from the meatery, the butcher there. All right, so this is a good left turn actually. It wasn't too tight, but there's traffic coming from both directions, and it found a hole, so that was really good. So we got a car pulling in here. I wonder if Beta will go around, but the other lane is... All right, so it just shifted over just a little bit, but didn't decide to go into the other lane, which is fine because there was a car coming up behind us on that left-hand side. So just like we would have to do is wait and just slightly go around it as it pulled through. And the last couple of times I've gone this way, we've had a blinker for this exit lane, which we really don't need. See if we get one. Yep, there it is. So that's weird. I mean, again, we're in a lane that's the blinker is just unnecessary. AI driver, what happened, my dude? We're talking about how blinker stuff was solved in this one, in 12.3 and other ones. So I don't know. Going slow here, we definitely should be approaching this because we have our own lane added to this and should go to 40. Okay. We're up to 40 now. Some stuff in the road. Luckily, it's not in our lane. I don't think that's stuff that Beta would avoid. Sorry, supervised. And this is the lane we need to be in, but the last couple attempts, it would get in this right lane, which would set it up for failure. But this is the lane, so let's see if we get it right. And no, we're going to get the failure here too. Beta did not take, sorry, FSD supervised, Ego did not take the right exit, the correct exit. It should have taken the middle lane, but instead did not. So there is 2 disengagements, both in the expected place. This is like, those are kind of the 2 big issues that I had with V1011 stuff. Those exact things. And actually, I think for almost all of V11, it would be in the middle lane, and then it would either kind of chunk over, or more often than not would happen, and we don't need to slow down here, so I'm going to intervene. So I added some acceleration there because we, again, adding a lane to this road. We have our own lane. We don't need to yield to anybody. But I think in version 10, and maybe early versions of 11, on the bridge there, it would just be in the right-hand lane, and it would make the exit going the right way. In fact, this was the behavior that occurred in 12.3, actually. When I finally got 12.3, it had reverted back to being in that right-hand lane, which was fine. And actually, my last drive I had, in fact, my last 2 drives yesterday on the same loop, it went into that right-hand lane, it made the exit, but then it failed with the fork in the road. I'm going to see if I can cut in those 2 instances here so you can see those back to back. So that's unfortunate. Two disengagements, and I had the 1 accelerator press as we were joining traffic. That is loop 1, attempt number 3, with still some very disappointing results that are not as good as I had on, gosh, even the first couple drives I took on 12.3 on test loop 1, I think were perfect. It made it to the market, and it made the correct exit lane, and it was a little wonky, but it made it, and a couple of times it made it nice and smooth. So that's frustrating, but it sounds like other folks are having really great success, and I hope these things are ironed out in the future. Thank you so much for watching. We will catch you next time. Now Tesla 5.